There's one question on the mind of all Utah Jazz fans. What's real? It's the one and only question we answer on this edition of Locked on Jazz.
You are Locked on Jazz, your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz. Part of the Locked on Podcast Network. Your team every day.
How are you? I'm David Locke, radio voice of the Utah Jazz, Jazz NBA insider. This is Locked on Jazz. It's your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz. Give you insight, expertise, geeky numbers, and hopefully making it way better to be a Jazz fan each and every day. Thank you so much for making Locked on Jazz your first listen of the day. We are free and available on all podcasting apps as well as on YouTube. Thank you so much for making Locked on Jazz your first listen of the day. Everydayers, you are the best. For those of you who are watching on YouTube, I'm trying to figure out how to make a very dark hotel room actually look all right. This isn't working on this set. There's a light behind me for those of you on audio. And if I turn it on, it looks like it's coming out of my head. And if I open up the blinds to bring some light into the room, then it looks like it's all coming from the wrong direction. And it looks like there's a whiteout to my right. But we're going to go with that. All right. Thank you very much for tuning in. Sorry for that little. You kind of do the tests, and it doesn't look bad. Then you start the show, and it looks awful, and you're like, oh, crap. Today's show is brought to you in part by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet $5. It's your bet wins, $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Here, head to FanDuel.com to get started. All right. Usually on Friday, we do an Ask LOJ. But I realized that there's really just one question that every Jazz fan has on their mind, and that is, what, from what we saw last night, is real? We're going to touch on two other things in the show today. We're going to get ready for Sacramento. We're going to look at the assists by Walker, Kessler, Kyle Filipowski, and Lowry Markkanen, because there were 13 of them. And then I love doing this. It's the overreaction to one day, but it's not an overreaction like who's good, who's bad. Though I will admit I'm watching the Clippers quite closely tonight. It's a what is the league doing trend, which I really like to do. So I've gone through all the actions of the league and looked at what they're doing. And it's one day, and so it's not a very big sample size, but there's some interesting things that at least tell you what I really like about doing this early in the year. It tells you what the coaches want to do, right? So what you see right now is what the coaches are trying to do or hoping to do or want to do. Now, whether they can do it all year, not is it. So there's some really interesting things going on with that. Okay. What's real? If I'm totally honest, I don't know. If I had my complete druthers, I wouldn't venture down this road after 48 minutes of perfect basketball, because I actually think what's real is that we're still incredibly young, with a bunch of players asserting themselves, trying to figure themselves out, that played a team that either's got something very fundamentally seriously wrong or just wasn't ready to go at altitude and didn't do training camp and just was not ready. And so if I really wanted to tell you what I think is real, is I still think most of the preseason predictions of where the Utah Jazz are going to finish this year is what's real. But I do think there were some things that we saw in that game that lead me to believe that, like, Will Hardy's got this team playing with a certain style and an energy, and there is a level of togetherness, and the oxygen in the room's available, and the veterans are connectors on this team instead of still proving their career in the same way that the last guys did. And you put all those things together, and I think you've got a feisty group, particularly in the first 15 or 20 games of the season. And then I think there's a level where you physically probably aren't as mature and developed as all the other teams in the league because you're so young. You start to wear down, and it becomes a little bit of a war of attrition. So What is real is, I think, the ball movement. What is real is, and these are related, is the togetherness. What is real is a offensive system the Jazz are playing that I think, if the guys understand it, is hard to guard. Will's very good offensively. So is his staff. Let me get into this a little bit. One of the sets you'll see most often tonight, if you're watching on Jazz Plus or KJazz or wherever you're watching tonight, and remember, on Jazz Plus, you can get the Spanish edition and the English radio now on Jazz Plus. Nice addition by the streaming crew over at the Utah Jazz. Thank you very much. There's also a live chat you can be a part of. I don't know if I can get in the live chat on the road because I'm outside of the SEG window, but if I can, I'll get in it tonight and I'll communicate with you guys in that live chat. Okay. I'm going to get a little technical here because I think it's interesting. I watched a bunch of our plays, and we're doing some stuff where, and watch this tonight, we're running, let's say that Walker has the ball high left, okay, right at the three-point line. On the left side of the floor is one other guy in that corner. The Jazz have three guys all set on the far side of the floor. So in this case, if we're facing the basket, it's the right side of the floor. Walker's on the left with the ball. Those three guys are there. And usually, most often, Lowry is the one on the baseline, and he's going to be coming off what looks like a double stagger to go to the basket. I just watched a ton of basketball, and what I cannot tell is what we're doing. Okay? There's a bunch of times where a guy cuts, and then another guy cuts right behind him. There's another, almost every single time somebody cuts to the basket. Okay? So there's three guys there. Lowry comes off the pick. But sometimes Lowry cuts the baseline, which is like the in vogue thing to do in the NBA. I'll talk about that a little bit. Everyone's doing the slide cut down the baseline. Except for us, actually, which is interesting. We're still cutting high, which I like. The best way I can describe this to you from a basketball standpoint, and I am not like I did not grow up playing with good coaching and am some savant, and I'm not about to try to pretend to be that guy who gives you all. I mean, I understand it. I go to enough practices. I've had exposure. I've been super fortunate, but I'm not trying to be that guy. But I want you to be able to watch the game in a manner that makes it a better experience to watch the game. That's what I'm trying to do here. And what's real is the question. We're running creative, interesting stuff that I think will allow us to be a good offensive team. That's what I'm telling you is real. We got to make shots. We can't make shots like we did last night every night. And then the second thing I think is real defensively is that there is a really concerted effort to deny the rim. I don't know that we'll be able to do that every night. I still don't have a lot of hopes for us defensively. But let's go back to this play because this is our primary offensive set right now. Remember when the Jazz used to run a bunch of split action with Jeff Hornacek and the Jazz? They'd be on the wing and they'd run these split action. And then think about the Warriors. They run all this, like Steph Curry's over in the corner. He's got a bunch of guys and they run. We're doing the same. It's actually the exact same split action stuff to me. And I don't know if split action makes any sense, but think of it as just multiple guys coming together and coming out of it in different angles, depending what the defense does. Let's just go that simple. We're just doing it at a different spot on the floor, and we're doing it without the basketball. A lot of the split action stuff you've seen over the years with the Warriors can almost be like guys splitting off of Draymond, who's got the ball, or off of Karl Malone, who's got the ball in the post. A lot of this is similar, but without any basketball there. The basketball's on the other side of the floor. I think it's really hard to guard. And I'm not entirely sure, having watched one game, that there's an actual rhythm to it, or a structure to it, or that there's a rule to it. Like, I'm sure there are rules. We generally seem to cut a guy every single play. If you watch us, there's a guy cutting the basket. There's a rim attack on off the ball on every single play. And from there, I don't have it. Sometimes we roll two. Sometimes we roll one. Sometimes only pops. And it might be simply reading the defense. If it is simply reading the defense, that gets really, really interesting. The Clippers were pretty passive. When we play Portland coming up here, and we play Phoenix coming up here. We play Sacramento tonight. These are teams that like to, they're not very good. So their coaching staffs have all talked about how physical and committed we are going to be defensively. And, we're going to be tough. And it's really, frankly, a great way to talk about a team that's not very good. And those teams are going to try to push us off our spots. And if all of our angles get broken and we're off our spots and nobody's together and the line, then some of this falls apart. The Clippers did not prevent us from getting into much of any of our plays. They just kind of played defense, and we were able to run all of our stuff, and they weren't restricting what we were doing. So that's going to be the first thing to watch is what is real. Well, does this maintain being real when somebody actually puts physical bodies on us and doesn't allow the Jazz to run their stuff the way they want? So, all right, let me sum this up because I then want to get into the assists. We're going to watch Lowry's assists, and Walker's are not as interesting, and Kyle's. We're going to watch 11 assists. This is really a high-level geekdom coming up. We're going to watch 11 assists. Okay. What is real? A collective energy, a togetherness of sharing the basketball and playing and moving and playing together, a lack of isolation one-on-one players who hijack possessions, an offensive system that is different than what the rest of the NBA is running right now that I think is going to be hard for people to adapt, an effort to take away the rim. Those are real. That's clear. That's what came out of training camp. Which of them last? I'm not sure about I'm not sure that we're going to be a good defensive team. It'll be interesting to see if we can really keep people off the rim. And then if that can actually skew our numbers to get us to be 20th defensively, then we'll be okay. Because we might be 14th or 15th offensively, surprisingly. And that's probably too high. But that's too high. We could be 20th and 20th. That'd be great. The offense is real, but it's going to be a real challenge when people start to push us off our spots. And then we can't make all the cuts and different things that we're making right now. But that'll be the challenge of the young kids. Okay. I don't know if that really answered the question. What you really want to know if we're going to win our next 4 games. Okay, let's talk about that. That's because that's what you really wanted to know. That's really the question you had. I'll do that next on Locked On Jazz. Today's show is brought to you by Murdoch Hyundai, located at 4646 South State Street, also located in Logan and in Linden. The Hyundai car, absolutely fabulous. I'm driving the Santa Fe Hybrid right now. Love it. Absolutely could not like it more. I keep seeing more and more of them on the road, and the reason is because they're awesome. You get like 500 miles per tank of gas, if not more, with the hybrid, plus 3 rows of seat, plus nice space, great power. Absolutely fabulous car. There's also the Palisade, the Tucson, and the Kona in the lineup of SUVs. The Sonata and the Elantra are there for you as the sedans, and then the electric cars have won every award imaginable. We own the Ioniq 5. Love it. My dad owns the Ioniq 6. Loves it. The Hyundai lineup of cars, absolutely fabulous. And if you're going to head over to Murdoch Hyundai, let's give you the Locked On VIP treatment that you deserve by giving me an email at dlock09@gmail.com. That's dlock09@gmail.com. That will allow me to give you the VIP treatment that you deserve as a Locked On everyday listener. Please let me know which location you're heading to so that we can give you the treatment that you deserve at Murdoch Hyundai. Today's show is also brought to you by Robinhood. Robinhood is the new gold standard. Your ambition just met its match with Robinhood. You play for the win, not just on game day, but every day, locking in on every opening, beating your PR, beating it again. Channel that drive into your money. Robinhood puts you in control of your money. Trade stocks and ETFs, options, futures, and crypto all on one platform. You can now build and execute your own trades from a desktop with Robinhood Legends advanced tools, or take advantage of the new Robinhood strategies with tailored portfolio managed by a team of experts. You expect more from yourself. You expect more from your money. Get started today at Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Again, that's Robinhood.com/yourmoney. And today's show is also brought to you by our friends over at DoorDash. That's right. Getting you going with DoorDash. And DoorDash has got the deal for you today. You know why? Because we went for 50. A bunch of people went for 50 last night on the DoorDash 50 deal. This is so fun. And last night, 2 guys did it with the NBA heating up. DoorDash has found the perfect way to keep fans in their bag all season long. That's the key point right there. It's the in the bag aspect of things, and that's what DoorDash is doing here, is keeping you in your bag. What does that mean? DoorDash is the official on-demand delivery platform of the NBA, and they're celebrating with the bag drop. Every time an NBA player scores 50, Shea did it last night. I believe Aaron Gordon did it last night. DoorDash drops 50% off your order with Dash Pass the next day. You're automatically entered for a chance to win the ultimate fan bag. We're talking player-inspired, drip-exclusive gear, stuff you actually want. So, DoorDash has you covered for late-night highlights, last-minute watch parties, and double OT fuel-ups. That's literally what happened last night. So next time someone goes off for 50, use the promo code NBA50 the next day. That's today to get 50% off your DoorDash with Dash Pass, plus your shot at the bag drop. Dash members only. That's Dash Pass members only. 50% off, up to $10 the day after a $50 game with a promo code NBA50. Terms apply. No purchase necessary. Ends April 13th. Open to U.S. residents 21 or older. Visit door-inyourbag.com for full details. DoorDash in your bag all season long. I think we'll know what is real in the next 4 games if we really want to get into it. The next 4 games, the teams aren't very good. So there's a chance that Sabonis plays tonight, which makes Sacramento much better. But Sacramento against Phoenix, which I watched last night or yesterday with Ron Boone on the plane, is our next 2 opponents. They played opening night. Neither of them are very good. They both have veteran scorers in DeMar DeRozan and Devin Booker that can put the ball in the basket. Neither of them have a full complementary of rosters. In fact, Sacramento had to close the game without Sabonis with a rookie. They closed the game with an undrafted rookie out of Colorado State, last name Caldwell. That's literally who was on the floor closing for Sacramento the other night. No Keegan Bradley, no Sabonis. They are thin. Drew Eubanks, Jazz backup center, started for them the other night. And then they tried Maxime Renaud out of Stanford, who was undrafted out of Stanford, French kid, and he wasn't ready to play. And then they finished with this kid Caldwell. They're short guys. Okay. Phoenix is playing Ryan Dunn and Isho Agudaro, and I'm not sure he's an NBA player, and they're both thin. Sacramento's a 37-win team with maybe 40-win team with Sabonis and Keegan Murray healthy, and they're about a 30-win team, maybe 25-win team without them the other night, the team they had out there. And Phoenix is about a 30, 35-win team. Maybe. Jalen Green's not playing for them right now, so it's hard to tell. Okay. And then we play Portland, who's obviously in massive disarray right now. I'm not touching on that story because I don't think it's relevant to Jazz fans right now. I will just give this quick comment, like we're all part of this gambling world. Locked On is. We're taking the money. The NBA is taking the money. We're all taking the money. There's a strong argument that we're actually better off with this being as public because that's how these things get caught. The more I read about this story, it's weird to me. There's a bunch of stuff that doesn't line up. I'll just say that. It feels like there were a lot. I'll say this. Feels like there was a lot of photo ops and a lot of headline grabbers, and that the real story is well behind the headlines, and that the headlines are not the real story. That's all I'll leave it as. All right, back to this. What is real? I think weirdly we'll know, like we could be 4-1 after 5 games, and then it's going to be interesting to see, okay, then we've beat a bunch of teams that are 25, 30 win caliber teams, and we're probably more in that realm than we are in 15 to 25 caliber team. That's what I think we could learn here in the next 4 days. Right now, we came in the season, we're 15 to 25 win team. That's how we've been projected. We go win 3 of our next 4, 2 of our next 4, we're probably more in the 25 to 35 range. We win all 4, which I think would be a lot. Then suddenly maybe we're actually in the 35 win category, and that's a funky place to be. So that's just my thoughts, but I do think we'll learn a lot. If Sabonis doesn't play tonight, it's another huge night for Walker Kessler. Okay. I thought one of the biggest deals the other night was the fact that we had 13 assists from big guys. The NBA sometimes, if it actually acts correctly on its website, allows us to go replay in a box score, go to a box score, and you actually can click on specifically that. There's a bunch of plays I was trying to find so I could play for you today, and it really didn't come together the way I had hoped. But Lowry, Kyle, and Walker had 14 assists. I'm not going to show you Walker's because, frankly, they're boring. They're just handoffs with him conducting, doing what he does in the various spots of the game. I do think Lowry's, one or two of them are not very interesting, but a few of them are more interesting. And I want to share a screen with you if I can. Let's see if this works. I believe you have Lowry Markkanen on our YouTube screen, but I will set this up for you. So here are going to be 5 assists. One of them is in the fast break. We're just going to roll through it fast. One of them's not very interesting. We're just going to roll through it fast. Few of the others are actually half decent. So the first one is the best of all. It's an alley-oop to Walker Kessler, and it's what Will Hardy has done, in my opinion, is he is simulating pick and roll and simulating split action in a bunch of different spaces on the floor in a different way than like you would traditionally. So in other words, multiple guys running off each other off the ball, but he's actually doing it without the ball, as I talked about in the first segment. Pick and roll, you think of it as like a ball handler at the top, and then coming off a pick, and then you roll to the basket in the traditional pick and roll. On this one, what you're going to watch is Lowry's on the right side corner. Walker's coming to set a pick for him. So it's a basic off-ball screenplay. Filipowski has the ball. This is the value of having every guy in your roster being able to pass. So Lowry's in the right corner. Walker comes to set a pick for Lowry. Kyle Filipowski has the ball at the top. At this moment, it's an off-ball screen. But because the Jazz are doing some different stuff with it, when Lowry rolls right now, it's basically a pick and roll. And if you see, Zubac is back. They don't have the ball yet. But Lowry rolls. He gets the ball. Kawhi Leonard, who didn't play very good defense, is behind the play. And now, because Lowry was the guy in the right corner, there's nobody in the right corner anymore because Lowry came out of it. What that means is there's no defender over there to help out. Kawhi is now trailing. Lowry has the basketball on a curl on an open side. Walker's now rolling to the basket. They're spread out a little bit because Lowry didn't have the ball. And so because the ball comes to Lowry after he's already come off the pick, he and Walker have spread out enough that now Zubac is in no man's land. Lowry drives. Zubac goes to him. Walker gets behind him. Slam dunk. That's the kind of stuff that Will Hardy's making other teams decide to do, and it's really impressive. Next assist by Lowry is not important other than it's unselfish. Filipowski left corner, takes a 3, misses it. We get the offensive rebound, kick out to Lowry. He absolutely could take this shot if he wants to, but he's growing up as a player. He's not as much. He spins it over to Mykhailiuk, who hits the 3. It's just an unselfish assist. Lowry had 5 assists the other night. He has not had 5 assists. We talked about this yesterday on the show in 18 months. This time, it's the same pin down to Lowry as we saw earlier, but this time it's different because there is somebody in each corner. Lowry gets it in the middle. Walker's rolling. It's pick and roll, but it's not nearly as effective because it's crowded. And Filipowski back cuts the baseline on a lazy James Harden, and Lowry finds him. Beautiful pass over the shoulder. Harden's a crappy defender. Filipowski reads it beautifully. Jazz always putting pressure on the rim. It's really well done. Next one's nothing that important. It's just a fast break. But again, this is Lowry's skills. He bursts out of traffic, leads the fast break, spins out of it, finds Keontae on a beautiful layup. It's absolutely a fabulous play. There aren't many 7-footers can do it. And then the next one is literally a little bit of a gift from our scorks where he drives and scores. So that's the concept. You're just seeing us use the ball in a lot of facets. Kyle Filipowski started in this game because of the fact that Will Hardy literally said he's another ball handler, contributor that we need in the lineup. And that's what we needed. And he did a great job of this. He did not have a very good shooting night, but he did a great job. Let's watch his 5 assists. I'll walk you through them. Walker Kessler had 4 assists, or Kyle's 4 assists, and they're mostly handoffs. And so there's nothing that's sexy about it, but they're showing that Walker's conducting and running the offense, which is really important. So here is Kyle Filipowski. And the first one is literally he just moves the ball to Lowry Markkanen, who hits a contested 3. or excuse me, that's the fast break. So here, Kyle gets the offensive rebound, spins it over to Lowry. Lowry just hits an open three. There's nothing to it. He just made the right play. But this is, again, there's nothing to it except for it's unselfish and smart. Here's Kyle right side. And just a slash to the basket and a gorgeous pass by Kyle. And that is a pass you can make if you're 6'11" and seeing over the defense. And there's some real value to having that. Kyle spins it back out to Lowry again, being able to play off the bounce. It's just having guys that can move the basketball. The Clippers defense sucked. And here's his fourth one, which is, again, just spinning it over to somebody that's open. All this is there's nothing tricky there except for one of those, that super fabulous pass by him on a cut. But the real story is it's just unselfish basketball. That's all that is unselfish basketball. And it's unselfish basketball by bigs that are looking to pass the basketball instead of trying to shoot every time they get it. It's pretty cool. Okay. So nothing that groundbreaking in those 14 assists, and I could not find you a good selection of the cut plays, and I also being a little careful in the first game of the year and how much video I show. I know people are watching. Let's get to the fun things. I'm geeking out on you next in a big way. Trends after day one. By the way, Jazz Plus tonight. You're watching the Jazz game on Jazz Plus. You can get the audio, both Spanish and English, by toggling at the top, and we hope to have you on the broadcast. All right, we come back with some really, I think, interesting, pretend you do too, geekdom. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's edition of Locked On Jazz. Today's show is brought to you in part by Rouge. Rouge is going to make you perform at your apex. I always want to do one of these ED reads and just bust out with no one's ever willing to do a personal endorsement. I'm just going to bust out like the most. You can't imagine what it was like. Okay, but let's be real. Making excuse doesn't solve anything. We've heard them before. It's just stress. I'm tired. It happens to everyone. But when it comes to performance, sometimes your body needs a little performance-enhancing drugs. That's right, baby, because that's where Rouge comes in. Rougette, actually. I think it's Rougette. I think I'm putting a little French on the back. RUGIET.com. Fast-acting, doctor-prescribed treatments for ED designed to help you stop making excuses and start making moves. Rougette makes it so that you can get started. You can get going, and they connect you with a board-certified doctor. 100% online, no awkward waiting rooms, no in-person appointments. Prescribe the treatment, ships directly, discreetly to door. Process is fast and simple. Rougette.com/LockedOnNBA to get 15% off your first order. That's Rougette.com/LockedOnNBA. Don't forget to use the code LockedOnNBA so that you get the discount. Rougette. Stop making excuses. Start making moves. Today's show is also brought to you by our good friends over at FanDuel. FanDuel, official sports book of Locked On, an opportunity for you to get into the action. And now, first-time users, a $5 bet, you win, and you get $300 in bonus bets. So unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Makes watching football even more fun when you get a little something riding on the action. You're a casual fan, love diving into stats. FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started at FanDuel.com. Line tonight on the Jazz, I believe, has been bouncing between 4.5 and 5.5. I'll be honest, I have an app that is now telling me the lines just because I think it's part of everything that's going on. And it's curious to me how much it moves every day. I had no idea. Things I learn every day. You can learn the same at FanDuel.com. Thanks so much for making Locked On Jazz your first listen of the day. All right. Wow, my show got really long today when I didn't have. All right, here's some geeky stuff. Trends. One night into the season, you can decide they're ridiculous or they're interesting. I'm doing this part of the show solely for my good friend CV. 5 years ago in the NBA, we ran 72 picks a game per team. 72. In the first night of the season, we ran 61. That's not a minor change. That is not a minor change, people. We literally have dropped 15% of the amount of pick and rolls over the course of a year. Now, let's see if it lasts, but we were 72. Here's the last 5 years. 72, 69, 69, 65, and in day one of the NBA season, 61 picks. But here's what I don't know. Where are all these possessions going? We were running 22 handoffs a game. In night one of the NBA season, we only ran 17. 5 years ago, we were running 49 off-ball screens a game. Night one of our NBA season this year, we ran 41. By the way, that's a 20% decrease. 49, 46, 44, 40, the last 5 years of off-ball screens. 49, 46, 44, 42, 41. That's a trend. The amount of passes per game. We'll see if this lasts. The last 5 years have been 584, 557, 580, and 587. Pretty even. Okay, we'll see if this lasts. Night one was 605 passes. So right now, each team is throwing about 10 more passes a game than they did a year ago. Is that a lot? It's about 12. It's a 12% increase. That's a lot to me. No, that's not right. Is that right? No, 12% would be 60. So it's a 15 out of 5. Yeah, it's not quite that much. It's about a 4% increase. So I don't know where they're going. Isolation is up, but not a lot. Isolation the last 4 years has been 19 a game, 18 a game, 18 a game per team, and 21 on opening week. Is it just a game we're trying to find this backdoor cutter on the slide cut of the baseline that everyone is doing in the NBA right now? But Memphis and Cleveland came out last year and slid and cut people off the baseline, and the rest of the league is following right now. That is the trend. Last year, half-court possessions were 79% of all possessions, and 21% were others, offensive rebounds, transition, things of that nature. Opening night of the NBA season, 80% of all possessions were in the transition, so there wasn't a big change there. The median NBA team was in transition 20% of the time last night, or the first night of the year, and last year that was 17%. So there may be a little bit more transition early, and that'll slow down as guys get tired. Post-ups are gone. Teams are running 3 post-ups a game. It's absolutely gone. It was 6. It's down to 3. It's absolutely gone. So I don't know where possessions are going. The only thing that's increased slightly is isolation. But I would say the drop from 72 to 61 picks a game per team is a real trend. We are moving away from being a pick-and-roll league. Let's keep an eye on that. And we're running all this off-ball action, and nobody else is. I think it's a huge advantage to us. One final thing to watch tonight's game. Everyone's doing this slide cut on the baseline. You'll see it coming from Sacramento. Everyone's doing it. We're cutting from the top angles. It's interesting to see. So we're cutting in a different way. Keep an eye on it. That is Locked On Jazz today. Thanks so much for tuning in. Greatly appreciate you. Have fun tuning in the game. Jazz Plus, flip the audio toggle. Let me know. Send me notes. Send me questions. We'll answer your questions live on the broadcast if you got them while you're watching on Jazz Plus tonight. Interact with us. We love you. Appreciate you. This has all been Locked On Jazz, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 sports podcast network in the country. Thanks for making us that. We now send you the first ever 24/7 national NBA channel, Locked On NBA on YouTube. And we said check out Locked On NBA with Wes, Hayes, and Matt every day.